Adipurush, the much hyped film based on the Ramayana, has now become a laughing stock. But it's also become a majorly political conversation. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo story. Well, the movie world continues to keep us entertained, and that's its job. But Adi Purush seems to be entertaining us for all the wrong reasons. It's triggered a virtual meme fest on the internet. There has been merciless takedowns of the movie, and there have been some unimaginably coarse dialogues that make Adi Purush's screenwriting sound more like a street brawl in a neighborhood of Delhi than actually a movie about spiritualism and religion and reverence. Rarely do our panelists agree on a subject, but I'm pretty sure that the four amazing guests I'm just about to introduce will agree on this movie. In fact, so much has been the backlash against Adi Purush that its writer has agreed that he needs to go back and rewrite some bits of this film. This, even as rather bizarre things are taking place. It doesn't matter how deeply you feel your religion. Surely you don't think that a seat for Lord Hanuman needs to be kept vacant in every screening of a movie. I'm finding it difficult to say that with a straight face. And again, this has nothing to do with not respecting people's religious beliefs. I do not know any believer who would want his or her faith to be reduced to this sort of caricature. Let's introduce our guests on the program today as we look at the debate that has been generated by this movie. We have some of India's best film critics on this program. I'm going to bring them up one by one. We've got Sucharita Tyagi. It's good to see you, Suchu. We also have with us Hindol. He's not a film critic. He's a very serious academic and author. And it's good to see you, Hindol. But let's welcome Hindol to the program. Good to see you, Hindol. And also joining us, yeah, there he is. And also joining us is Shubhra Gupta. She's, I think, one of the most respected bylines in the world of movie critiquing from the Indian Express. And also finally joining us is Rahul. Rahul's columns at the Film Companion are much followed and much discussed. So really, it's good to see you. And as I said, our panelists rarely agree on everything, but I'm pretty sure we're going to have broad areas of agreement here. I've got to issue the mandatory disclaimer. I haven't seen the movie. I've seen clips. I've seen the Tere Baap ki dialogues, right? I've seen the memes. Yeah. Kapda tere baap ka, tel tere baap ka, aag bhi tere baap ki, aur jalegi bhi tere baap ki. I did not think a day would come when I would have to read a dialogue like this out on my program. Now, is this funny? Is this not funny? Are there serious issues at stake? Let me start with you, Shubhra. I'm assuming that the three film critics have seen the movie. I know Hindol hasn't and I haven't. Is this funny? Like, is this just a good laugh? Or is there more at stake here? Is this a deeply political debate at the heart of it? Shubhra, if we can start with Shubhra, please. Yeah. Can we unmute Shubhra, please? Sorry, give us a second.
Hi.
Yeah, go ahead.
I wish it was funny. I wish it was something that you could, sort of throw your head back and have a good laugh at. It's to me, there is only a Hindi word that I can think of when I try and come up with a equivalent for this dialogue. It's just chichorapan. It's a chichora dialogue in a
Hmm.
film which is about one of our most beloved epics, most beloved in the sense that it's not just in India. This is Ramayan is actually venerated in all of Southeast Asia. There's parts of Cambodia, there's Vietnam, there is Thailand, there is Nepal. In all of these parts of the world, the Ramayan is not just an epic which is deeply entertaining, but it is also a deeply, the religiosity connected with this epic is, it's been around for the thousands of years. And whether you look at the Tulsidas Ramayana, which is the Ramcharitmanas, or you look at a Valmiki version, or you look at any other many versions of the Ramayana. None of them depend. It doesn't matter which kind of point of view you want to focus on, whether it is the Sita story or whether it is the Ram story or the Bharat story, which they seem to have conveniently dispensed with in this version of the Ramayana. There has never been this kind of confusion about form, about format. It's we don't know whether we are watching some of Lord of the Rings, or whether it is Harry Potter, or whether it is Planet of the Apes. It's the provenance is zero. The dialogues are not just laughable, they are deeply objectionable, I would say. And you began with saying that, is this a good laugh? I wish it was a good laugh, because there is levity. Our lords, our gods are very, very happy with laughter, with any kind of levity. But this is not levity, this is not laughter. This is just plain, I don't know what to call it. I'm just saying it's fully chichora. And it doesn't. You are talking about the Ramayan, right? It's not like a little gully boy having a little conversation. So let's
Yeah.
just get switched on about that.
And at the other end, you're saying that it actually undermines sort of the very notion of religiosity. On the other hand, you have, I'm sorry, I'm just going to say this. It's kind of absurd, this whole let's leave a seat in the theater for Lord Hanuman. If we can just, look at that. Divinity in all Indian theaters. And these are the images of a seat. Om Raut, of course, is the maker of this movie. And he has shared on his Twitter feed images of of a seat being reserved for Lord Hanuman. Now, Hindol, before I get Sucharita and Rahul in, I just want to bring you in. I know you haven't seen the movie, but I find this completely caricaturing faith. This is not reverence to say let's leave a seat for Lord Hanuman. To me, if I were a deeply believing Hanuman worshipper, I would find this an insult to my faith, because it is taking away its soulfulness. It's taking away a certain amount of gravitas that should be attached to faith. Of course, you can have fun with faith, but this is not fun either. This is some sort of mandatory caricature. Indo.
No, I haven't seen the film, and nor am I likely to see the film. In fact, I will not see the film, thankfully, because of the kind of films that are made in our country mostly. One doesn't need to see an entire film to know that something is ridiculous. And this film is ridiculous. It is stupid by all standards. Only people who know that they've created a bad product and they know it's going to go down the drain cover up by doing antics like this. Once the you have a seat for Hanuman, you basically say, once you say, I this entire film is based on the Ramayana, then you say, no, 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 but we were only inspired by one part of the Ramayana. It's not really Ramayana, because after all, we call it Adipurush. I heard, to my utter shock and distaste, I had to hear a small clip which came up on Instagram of the film's writer. I'm sorry to say, this is a stupid man. I mean, a stupid man who has done no deep reading, as many such writers are. He has no idea what he's talking about, far less the Ramayana. He would be best off writing, I don't know, Gangs of Wasseypur, which actually was a very well-written film. So maybe that's not the best example. He's best left to writing, some odd, whatever, Bollywood pot boiler, whatever it is. He shouldn't have touched the Ramayana at all. Actually, the best Ramayana in a sort of commercial format, apart from the one Ramanan Sagar made in India, is the other one made in Japan, which is beautiful, which actually manages to, even though it's animated, manages to capture every emotion of the original Ramayana. And Shubhra is right in saying that the Ramayana is not only an Indian text. It is a story that's revered in many, many formats across Asia, especially Southeast Asia. So this particular director and especially this particular writer should have never touched something like Ramayana. They don't know what to do with it. And we are very unfortunate that this is released. I really, really earnestly hope that it flops.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing, Sucharita, that we don't know its commerce yet because of the hype around it. The advanced bookings were pretty good. The word of mouth trashing it has started only now. In fact, the filmmakers have been showing off that its openings are better than Pathan.
Yeah.
What's your hot take?
I mean, the opening, I'm not surprised that it's better than Pathan. I watched the movie the first day, first show, 7:30 a.m. And I've never seen a movie theater that full in the morning unless it's like a big South Indian superstars film that Kamal Hassan film releases, and that has a 6 a.m. opening in Bombay. And I've been to the 6:30, 6 a.m. shows, and they're always full because, there's armies and fan clubs and communities that turn up. The community and the fan club that's turned up here has been Sri Ram Bhagwan's community and fan club that's turned up at 7:30 in the morning and filled that theater. But unfortunately, the filmmakers have been focused on the one empty seat and not on all the occupied seats around them. What are we serving to the people who've come to watch the film? Why are we focusing on the one empty seat that we have left for one person who we are hoping will come and watch the film with us? It's a mockery of not just people's faith and religious beliefs. It's a mockery of cinema as an art form. It's dishonest. It's very apparently insincere. There is not a whole lot of actual heart that's gone into making this film, and it is a crime the amount of money that's gone into making this film, promoting this film, and telling us that this is going to be the best film. There is absolutely nothing wrong with adapting and interpreting a religious text that holds as much importance in Hindu culture as Ramayana does. People have been doing it. Mahabharata, filmmakers, writers, they've all had interpretations of it in their own ways. And not even, you don't even have to, you can write characters that are street side taporis, and it can be interpretation of Ramayana and the Mahabharata. There was a movie in 1980 with Mithun Chakravarti and Nasiruddin Shah in it, which was called Hum Panch, which was a Mahabharata adaptation, and they were all members of a gang. It is doable. You just have to have the right intentionality behind it, and it is very apparent after watching the film that the intentions were either unclear or insidious, but the end product is just an unwatchable crime on humanity.
Unwatchable crime on humanity, mockery of cinema, mockery of faith. I want to bring in Rahul with an interesting question. This movie, this big budget movie, comes at a time when there's a huge hand wringing over the future of movies itself, right? Is Netflix and Amazon permanently going to kill cinema? North Indian cinema has particularly suffered, even though we have Prabhas as the central role, from the South in this movie, Rahul. So what does it before I come to the politics, what is the industry takeaway from this movie?
I mean, it's been shot in Telugu and Hindi simultaneously, so I feel like it's looked at as a pan-Indian film, quote unquote. So I don't think it's exactly Hindi cinema. I feel like a lot of zones will now associate themselves with the language of the film or where it's coming from because of the backlash right now. But I feel like the problem with this film is that the filmmakers have probably fallen into their own trap, right? These are the same people responsible for making films like Tanaji, the historicals that cater towards the current sort of Islamophobic climate in the country. They basically present villains as either evil Mughal emperors or bad Hindus as Muslims in a lot, or they caricature them as with those traits in most of their films. I feel like they've not done anything different with this film. They've done the same thing that they do with historicals. But the problem is you can alter facts in historicals. And I feel like the country has been lapping that up for the last couple of years. We've seen that with Kashmir Files. We see the Kerala stories. But when it comes to mythology, everyone has a different truth. When it comes to mythology, even if it's not facts we are talking about, everyone has their own version of what they want to believe in. And we have to understand that the reason people all over India are getting are sort of disliking the film are for different reasons. A lot of people are disliking it because they had the audacity to interpret it. They had the audacity to even update it, use that modern language. But you also have to understand that the modern language that they use has been being used in a lot of war movies, a lot of historicals that we've been seeing lately. So it's the same rhetoric they are using here, but the only difference is it's mythology now.
That's a very interesting point, and I want Hindol to respond to it, who may have a different perspective, as it were. That, I think what Rahul is suggesting is that there's a certain narrative that the filmmakers thought works today in today's new India, whichever side of the new India debate you're on, whether it's the Kashmir files, the Kerala story, and so on. And that's what they try to do here. They try to actually cash into a market. And I want to show you, Hindol, if I can, a roster list of all the chief ministers who have been thanked. There it is, right? These are the long list of BJP chief ministers who, before watching this film, assumed that this is a film about Bhagwan Ram and said, "You have our blessings." Now, the opposition, for once, the opposition gets to play, in a way, the self-righteous card when it comes to Hinduism and say, "Maafi mango, aapne kyun ye endorse ki?" So this is Indian politics at its best, unpredictable self. But there's a serious question here: that is there a shortcut to a kind of new narrative that these movie makers thought would work? Indor.
I'm not sure why they would think there is a shortcut. Kashmir Files. I haven't seen the Kerala story, so I can't really comment on the Kerala story. As far as the Kashmir Files is concerned, anybody who has seriously read the history knows that there is no factual error in that film. Now, could that film be made better? Could the script have been? Could it have been better? Sure. Would somebody else represent it in a different way? Sure. But as far as the pure facts are concerned, and many of the facts are actually from the book of Rahul Pandita, this famous book, Moon Has Blood Clots. So all of these are verified facts. That kept aside, did they think that they would, trigger this in a manner that people would think that this is a different version of, other things that are being made in the country? Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. I mean, I can't read their minds. The fact is, look, every nation, every civilization has certain things that are sacrosanct to a people. The Ramayana and Mahabharata are sacrosanct to us as a people. No matter who says what about them, they are sacrosanct to millions, if not billions, of Indians. And again, not just in India, millions of other people around the world also. Therefore, before attempting to reinvent them, and I don't even understand this bit about modern language. No modern person I know talks like this. Maybe they talk like this in some pockets of India. Certainly, no one modern I know, and I know a lot of fluent Hindi speakers talks like this. So I don't know what modern Hindi this is. But the point is that before you touch something like this, you have to touch it with a certain humility, and you have to touch it with a certain, if not reverence, a certain responsibility. In this particular case, both the responsibility and a broader sense of, the fact that you're touching something which millions of people hold very dear to their heart. Barkha, you would have seen that video of the actor who plays Lord Ram in Ramanand Sagar's serial all those years ago, was recently in a airport, and this lady who suddenly saw him.
Saw him and went to him and to be photographed
That's
with
right.
him.
Now,
Yeah.
what are we going to do? Are we going to laugh at the fact that she feels this reverence? Are we
No,
going to
not
say,
at
oh, no, no,
all.
we have to mourn
Not
for
at
it?
all. Not
No.
at all.
So,
But
therefore, these
obviously,
filmmakers
obviously,
don't understand.
sorry, I was just going to say that obviously Ramanand Sagar's Mahabharat, Ramanand Sagar's Ramayana, I beg your
Ramayana.
pardon, touched a chord with Arun Govil playing the character of Ram in a way that this has not been able to. I again say that I think Sucharita made an important point. This is a mockery of faith. We are not
It is.
mocking people's faith. We are saying the movie mocks people's faith.
No,
If you see what
absolutely. And
I'm
I think,
saying.
like I said, you have to have the wisdom to approach a subject in a text like the Ramayana with a certain sense of responsibility. I think in this particular case, the filmmakers approached it to try and make some quick money out of it and make a sort of mishmash pot boiler, whatever. I don't know what they thought. But in fact, they showed no humility, no responsibility, and therefore it's clearly a disaster. I would be very disappointed. It might actually come true. Because of this reverence, actually tens of thousands of people might actually go to see it, and it financially might become a hit. But I hope the backlash that's coming from everyone will ensure this is not attempted again. And if it's attempted, it is done with a certain responsibility.
And let me take this example to Shubhra of the lady who goes to Arun Govil, who played Ram in Ramanand Sagar's rendition of the epic. And again, I completely understand what Hindol is saying, that there is a there is almost a muscle memory reverence when it comes to Ram, and it's an epic that's been, whether it's part of your stories, whether it's part of your comics, whether it's part of your temples, it is kind of institutionalized into your growing up as an Indian. The question is, what is different from that Ramayana to this Ramayana? That question
Okay.
should be asked and must be asked.
So here is my take on that one. Yeah, if you remember, and some of us do remember, when the saga Ramayan took over our Sunday mornings, it just became the thing that, I mean, everybody had a date with their television sets at that point of time, and it became like there was a joke that, if you had to get from point A to point B in 5 minutes to get out at 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning, because that's when the saga Ramayan would be playing out. That was one. The other is, I remember the garishness with which, and the kind of, I mean, I remember the garish colors that Raman and Sagar's Ramayana used in, scene after, I mean, episode after episode. It happened for many years. And between the Mahabharat and the Ramayana, which came, back to back on Doordarshan, the ecosystem within which the Hindu right sort of said that, okay, we are here and we exist. It became something like, a place where you could say that the older Jansang in 1967 became the BJP, and it became the kind of crucible within which the Rath Yatra then took place. So I think the Ramanand Sagar Ramayana had a very important role to play in the rise of the Hindu right. At the whole, that and the Mahabharat both. And also the other thing with what Hindol was talking about is humility. I also think it's also about knowledge. You need to have learned. You need to know the Ramayana. You need to have read it to know that where do you start from, where do you end, what are the things that you're going to take, because there have been millions of interpretations of the Rama, and you have A.K. Ramanujam on the one hand, you have Peter Brooks's Mahabharat, which actually takes people from all over the world. You have black people, you have Caucasians, you have people from the east playing our, these are people who are Indian, so to speak, idols from the epics, from the mythologies, and everyone. These are fantastic
Yeah,
renditions of Mahabharat, as well as the as well as Ramayana. But the Ramanand Saga, despite all the garishness, despite, I now feel that they actually did a very good job of actually interpreting the Ramayana the way Tulsidas intended it to be. The reverence comes from that woman who's prostrating herself at Arun Govil's feet has a muscle memory, as you said, of that Ramayana, where you were
absolutely.
drenched in reverence. It was, and I'm not even saying that it needs to be that. You can have a totally different take on it. You can say, okay, here, we're not going to do a reverence, we're going to do something totally different, but there has to be provenance. This Ramayana doesn't know where it's coming from or where it's going. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah,
what
but
is
but here's the interesting question. If it is a commercial success, Sucharita, if it is a commercial success, I don't know. I don't know if it will be. You guys understand this trade. What is the message that it's actually sending? Because then, whether Hindol says they should have attempted, they'll probably attempt a part two. Hang on. We have to unmute you. Can we unmute? Yeah, go ahead,
Yes.
Sucharita. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Honestly, though, I have no idea how the numbers are looking right now and what the projections are. I try not to get into that, and I try not to let that affect my opinion on a film that I'm going to watch or I have watched. So I don't know, but there we know over the last few years we've seen that if a war movie works, now everybody wants to make a war movie. If a certain propaganda kind of film works, now everybody wants to pick one thing that went wrong in some state and then they want to kind of make it into some. So yes, I will not be surprised if there's more mythological adaptations in the work. Suddenly people want to talk about this a little bit more. It's just really, really upsetting. I mean, look at the woman. I hadn't seen the video at the airport, Arun Govil's video, and I just saw the clip that you played. And just imagine the kind of place a human person has to be in to seek faith at the feet of a man they know is an actor, but represented something so important and so dear to them 30, 40 years ago. That is the kind of emotion and that is the kind of respect people have gone to the movie theaters anticipating, hoping for. We've had 2, 3 years of the pandemic. People have lost loved ones. People have had terrible financial losses. Companies have shut down. And here comes this magnum opus that is telling people that we will take you back to a time where everything was simpler, where everything you knew how this is going to turn out. It's a victory of good over evil. You don't have to worry about anything. There's no surprises here. People have gone with their children, with their grandparents, and sat and just to feel a semblance of somebody is taking care of the world right now, the situation that we're all in. And what they get in return is this insincere, complete, dishonest, um, barely movie, barely a film, because you can't see any of their faces. It's all CGI'd out. It's just really upsetting, and I won't be surprised if we see more mythological interpretations of various things going forward.
And I think the point Hindol made is that in itself is not a bad thing, and I'll come to that point in just a moment. But Rahul, what were the emotions you went through as you watched the movie? Like, was it disbelief? Was it laughter? Was it, oh my God? What was it? Can we
Rahul,
unmute
mute pe
Rahul?
hai.
Ha, Rahul.
Yeah, can you?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. To be honest, while I was watching the film, I didn't. I was actually a little afraid that this film isn't the worst sort of CGI heavy film I've seen coming from India. So I was actually convinced that it would do record breaking business from hour one, because as Sucharita said, we watched it in a packed hall. Even though the responses weren't like all shouting in the cinema halls that we are normally used to in historicals, uh, I didn't get any sense that people were disliking the film until well into the film, when the sort of cringy dialogue started. People started laughing at the way Hanuman was speaking. People started laughing at the way Ravan was acting. But I was still worried that this film will still sort of break records, because we've seen it happen before. And I was like, this is exactly the kind of film that will cater to the audiences it want to. It wants to exploit the faith that of the woman we saw in the video. It wants to turn religion into the business that a lot of these filmmakers have turned it into in the last couple of years, or in the last decade for that matter. And all of them know exactly what they are doing. The only difference here is, as everyone mentioned here, the the insincerity and the lack of humility and the absolute the arrogance to take your audiences for granted. I still don't agree that the audience, everyone is panning it for the same reason. I'm panning it for a different reason. But that
You mean you
mockery of
mean
faith is,
you mean
yeah.
somebody's panning it for bad dialogue, somebody's panning it for bad VFX. Not everybody's finding the film coarse and a mockery of their faith.
Yeah, so for someone like me, the first thing that would stand out is obviously how bad it looks, the VFX looks, or how bad it is as a film on that level. Because I'm very used to seeing Hindi films, or Indian films for that matter, big budget Hindi films mocking our faith and turning and making a mockery of religion as well. So that didn't come as a surprise to me. But the thing is, a lot of other people are also criticizing it because they have actually dared to do something that they don't agree with the film. We've seen this happen. It's not a new thing, but again, it's just a
That's an
different reason.
interesting question, and I want to take that to Hindol. That I think what Rahul is suggesting is that there are also puritanical responses that are saying this is our religion and how dare you mess with our religion, and that once you create that framework in this context, more people may agree than disagree. But tomorrow, when people disagree, it will lead to a certain kind of creative censorship. I think that's what I'm picking up in a way from Rahul, and I see that argument. And it will create certain no-go areas. Let's not touch this when we make a movie. And we've seen a lot of that debate. Go ahead, Hindol, with your thoughts on that.
Well, look, I mean, this part of what you're explaining right now has been a problem for a long time. Many years ago, when Padmavat was about to come out, you saw the kind of fiasco that
Yeah.
happened. And various people at various levels, various pressure groups try to do these things when films come out, right? As a people, have we matured to try and stop these things? Maybe yes, maybe not. Finally, Padmavat did release, it really became a big hit, and so on and so forth. And they tried to obviously control it effectively. Now, the point is, one part of it is about our maturity as a people and as a country. The other part of it is Indian civilization is full of great stories.
Sure.
Hindu civilization, if somebody wants me to even like drill it down, is full of great stories. Even if you believe nothing about Hinduism, you have to admit that it's great stories, and stories that have really lasted this, time. And, some of these stories go back God knows when. To take these stories, which are so important, and place them in the hands of these idiots is a true travesty. Indian civilization, Hindu civilization, our stories, even if you don't agree with the words Indian civilization, Hindu civilization, our stories in our country deserve better, our traditional stories, that is, deserve better storytellers. And we don't have those storytellers at the moment. We really don't. We have to collectively be ashamed that we don't. Maybe some parts of southern India and their filmmaking has it. Certainly, in other parts of India, I know in my native Bengal, you don't have that talent today.
Yeah.
And clearly, even the Mumbai film industry is showing us they don't have the, the vision, for the lack of better word. Rahul was mentioning GFX. Even the vision, you look at how beautiful the Japanese film, which
It's
was made
yeah,
20, 30 years
it's
ago,
on right now. It's on
on
right
right
now
now,
on the
how
screen.
beautiful it looks, and this was made some 20, 30 years ago. We don't have the vision, and we need better storytellers. Even if you're going to change something like the Ramayana, let's go back to the original point that Shubhra made. You have to know the Ramayana to change the Ramayana.
Yeah.
You cannot
I
just pop up and change the Ramayana.
I was just thinking that I think some of us on this program are old enough to remember a childhood shaped by Amar Chitra Kathas. Now, I don't know what we would feel if we revisited Anand Pai's creation. I think some of the people in our live stream are also talking about the Amar Chitra Katha, but it was a sort of easy access into the entry point of some of these great stories, right? And I don't remember, I don't know what we'd feel today, Shubhra, but they were lovely. I mean, so much of my childhood was shaped by those stories. So I, for one, don't have a problem with our myths, our epics being told. In fact, I think that our education system, like, uh, I studied the Odyssey, but as a literature student, but I did study the Mahabharata, and the Mahabharata I would have loved to study. So I think there is a point, a decolonizing argument also to be made. But where do we find that balance between good storytelling that isn't playing politics and economics with your faith, but is still telling you your own stories?
um, I agree about the Amar Chitra Katha, the impact that it had on some of us when we were growing up. I think the attempt was to deconstruct our very dense epics in easy to access formats. And I think they did a great job. It's only now that we are looking at it, with a revisionist kind of point of view, and talking about things that, about you're looking at it from a feminist lens. Yes, you can find many things that are problematic, but then that is not of the
But I mean,
time.
that's true. Like, that's like
It's
Enid Blyton is being,
right. So
Noddy is
it's
being written out of
exactly,
Enid Blyton. So,
exactly
yeah.
of the
Yeah.
time. And I can tell you this: when I was growing up as a child, I wanted to read the Mahabharata, and my family said, "We do not keep the Mahabharata in our family. We don't." So I insisted. They brought it for the days that I actually read it, and then they took it away because they said, "Mahabharat nahi to ghar mein ho jayegi." Now, that kind of astha. Okay, and I'm talking about the Ramayana, which was an everyday thing for us. The Sundarkand, I can actually still remember some of the dohas. And I'm not saying that, like I said before, I'm not saying that you should actually prostrate yourself to the text, to the point that you cannot parse it at all. But you
Yeah.
need to know it to be able to have points of view. Here we see nothing. We see, like, it's like saying that, look, I want to make this movie, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. You have no idea what you're dealing with. You have no idea the weight of the epic. You have no idea about the characters and what they mean for us. And now dialing back and saying, oh, it was not mine, it was theirs, and it is an interpretation. Why call Ram Raghav? Why call here Janaki? Why Shesh? Yes, they are also names of the people, but if you are doing a Ramayana interpretation, which is what you've been telling me all this while, then at least you have to know what you're talking about. I have a feeling that after a point, it was just hubris. It was like, we will make this, and it is exactly in sync
Yeah.
with the times that we are living in. It is this skewing right of everything. Our movie is going to be a hit, and I think
Yeah.
that is where the problem lies, apart from
You
all
know,
else.
Rahul and Sucharita, before we sort of close, and I'll give Hindol a last word on that. In terms of industry morale, what is this doing? We know there's a lot of creative chaos, as it were. People are now looking to cast, people from more actors from the South in movies. And yes, you made the point that this is seen to be a pan-India movie, not a North India movie. So don't see it as a Hindi cinema. But it had some A-list actors, right? This wasn't a movie made on the cheap. This wasn't a movie. This had a big budget. That had big stars. So what is its industry sort of, ripple, as it were? Rahul?
It's too early to say right now because as we speak, we are little. I mean, we are little in the middle right now because seems to be earning money at the same time the discourse seems to be taking a turn against it. And for me, it's like on the outside, it's quite amusing to see that the people they were trying to cater to are exactly the people who are now who are totally offended by the film. And at the same time, you can't even discount it from box office success because we know the population of this country. We know the kind of we know that it was one of the biggest films of the last few years. We know the hype that they created, that it's probably the most expensive film ever made. I feel like they backtracked a little once the trailer came out and it was met with a lot of backlash because of the VFX. But after that, I feel like it's not difficult to make a film like this a success financially, because even if everyone is going, whatever we are seeing on the internet right now, everyone's criticizing it. The fact is they have watched it to criticize it. Means they have paid for the 300 rupee ticket. So what the figures that we are seeing right now, people have gone to watch it once to hate on it or to sort of troll it, to make memes of it on the internet. The film will still probably make money after that, and I don't think it will create a massive dent in the way mythological epics will be made in the future. I don't think it will change the way the industry thinks about casting A-list actors from across the country for epics like that. I hear of a Mahabharata in the works. I hear of another Ramayana in the works. So it's not, I feel like a lot of filmmakers are watching this carefully, but I think we'll be in a better position to speak about it once a lot of this sort of intersecting chaos dies down.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I just want to play a little clip before I come to you, Sucharita, of Manoj Muntashir, the screenwriter, and he's not even, he wanted to backtrack from the fact that this was about the Ramayana. I mean, that is it. There's a hilarity to this whole discourse. Listen in. Oh, we don't have the sound, guys. We need the sound.
मॉडर्नाइज करने का कोई प्रयास किया है क्या? हम ओरिजिनल रामायण से हटे हैं क्या? हमने उसको मॉडर्नाइज करने का कोई प्रयास किया है क्या? हमने कोई अलग टेक लिया है? तो इसका सीधा जवाब ये है देवांग जी, बिल्कुल नहीं। जो रामायण लोगों ने सुनी है, पढ़ी है, देखी है, एग्जैक्टली वही रामायण है, कुछ भी अलग नहीं।
फिल्म का नाम क्या है? जैसा कि आपने अभी कहा श्वेता जी, फिल्म का नाम है आदिपुरुष। जब हम आदिपुरुष बना रहे हैं तो पहली बात तो 2-3 चीजें मैं एकदम स्पष्ट कर दूं, मैंने पहले भी कही है और अभी स्पष्ट कर देता हूं। हमने रामायण नहीं बनाई है, हम रामायण से प्रेरित हैं। हमेशा हमारा, अगर आप डिस्क्लेमर भी देखेंगे तो हम यही कहते रहे कि भाई हमारे लिए तो बड़ा आसान था कि मार्केटिंग की स्ट्रेटजी के हिसाब से भी हम फिल्म का नाम रामायण रख देते, लेकिन हमें तो शुरू से ये पता था कि हम रामायण से बहुत हेविली प्रेरित हैं।
Okay, Sucharita, I can see you smiling there. Let's bring you up. Can we unmute Sucharita, please? Okay, let me do it. Okay, you're muted at your end. Let's Suchu, you're muted at your end.
Sorry. I mean, आप देख लो ना, मैं वही कह रही हूँ, आप डिसऑनेस्टी देख लो। पहले हम ट्रेलर बदल रहे हैं, चलिए ट्रेलर पे बैकलैश आ गया, फिर हमारी फिल्म ट्राइबेका में प्रीमियर हो रही है, ट्राइबेका से गायब हो गए, किसी को पता भी नहीं चला क्यों, फॉर व्हाट रीजन। द प्रीमियर पेज ऑन ट्राइबेका हैज बिकम अ 404 एरर पेज। फिर हमारी फिल्म में अब हम रिलीज कर दी है, अब हम इसके डायलॉग बदल देंगे, चलिए, क्योंकि लोगों को डायलॉग पसंद नहीं आ रहे। अब हमारे जो हम रामायण बना रहे थे, अब तो रामायण है ही नहीं, हम तो प्रेरित होकर बना रहे, तो हम थिएटर में हनुमान जी के लिए सीट क्यों छोड़ रहे हैं, किसी और बजरंग क्यों नहीं छोड़ रहे सीट, क्योंकि आई थिंक द हनुमान कैरेक्टर इन दिस फिल्म इज एक्सक्लूसिवली referred to as बजरंग. I could be wrong. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to see what's going on here, Barkha. This is not, they're not even sharp in their insidiousness. It's just such an insult to human intelligence to expect people to believe this garbage upon garbage, that now we have done this, actually it wasn't this, actually it was that. You really, I think, don't insult my intelligence with this example over and over again. You made a film, you stick with your film. As if you're a filmmaker or anything, you stand by your film. you do not go in media 2 days after release and say, oh, we are going to change the dialogue of our film. I mean, how do you expect me to take anything that comes out of these conversations seriously at all? They've been changing the film since the trailer, since the teaser came out, not even the trailer. They've been changing something or the other or the other. And then eventually, what has changed in the film, I don't even know. The dialogue that is being spoken about, also specifically these two lines that everybody's picked up on. One is called tere baap ki chalegi, and one the words are lanka laga denge. This is language used by Twitter trolls. This is language used by people because Ravan's son in one scene asks Hanuman, Jali kya? How many of us who are on Twitter have been said this to us? Jalina, teri Jalina, accompanied by an Akshay Kumar meme from Hera Fairy or something. Jalina. This is Twitter troll language. You have very deliberately put this in your film, but you've been unable to decide which lane you are going for. Are you making this film to fan tension? Are you making this film for families to come together and have darshan of a god they believe in and who gives them peace? Are you making this film for the Harry Potter audience who's interested in like VFX and special effects and fun? The film completely fails to pick a lane, and that is one of the reasons why no one is standing by this film at this point, not even the people who have made it.
Okay. Hindor, last word to you. I think there's been said again and again that this film could do well commercially and it could spawn actually a spate of imitations, God forbid, if the audience does not punish this movie commercially. Right? The critics' opinion won't matter. The movie makers will laugh all the way to the bank, and then the next one will probably be even worse. Last word to you.
No, it's true. Even as Sucharita was speaking, I saw it flash on the screen that it has now crossed the record of Pathan. Well, what can one say? I mean, clearly all of us are wrong, and all these people will laugh all the way to the bank. I want to mention, since there are so many film critics, it seems odd to be Barkha. कोई भी फिल्म में डायरेक्टर बोलता है, प्रोड्यूसर बोलता है, ये राइटर को सामने क्यों कर दिया है? I don't remember writer being thrown into this frenzy so much. Either this writer is this character, he's this sort of a man or this sort of a guy, or I think Om Raut did the clever thing. When the teaser was slammed, he sort of put the writer up on front, up to dekh le, you take the brunt, you take the fire. So he sort of sidelined himself, and all the, even, all of us are actually attacking the writer. And this writer, and oddly enough, here's the tragedy of it all. This is probably going to make this stupid writer famous, and he'll probably get more work. This is the tragedy of it all. But having said all of that, let me end on, what I at least think is a positive note. I think this backlash is very important. I think it's very wise. After all, movie making is expensive business. And when you touch something like the Ramayana or the Mahabharata, it's very expensive business. I think many of the people who from the industry who are watching this backlash will think twice before what product they're coming up with based on these epics. Because God forbid, if it really fails, they will lose a lot of money. So I think there will be some fear, if not of Lord Ram, there will be some fear of losing money. And I think that is a very positive thing. This film still might succeed, but I do think this backlash, the film industry has always been very timid about losing money. I think many people will take a step back and think, look, इन्होंने तो पैसा बना लिया, अगर हम जाएं और कुछ गलत हो गया, फिर तो सारा पैसा डूब जाएगा. And I think that's very important fear.
Okay, we will leave it there. But I think, Shubhra, you wanted to say something? It's an interesting question.
Very quickly say that, what Hindol was talking about and what all of us have been talking about is the one thing that most of us forget when we're talking so passionately about the quality of a film is that filmmaking businesses all around the world, they are just petrified of the one thing is that people don't plonk that money on a box office. The money, you take away the money, there is no film. There is no film, right? If this film has actually cost 500 crores, which is what they are saying, even if it makes, unless it makes double then it will not be a clear profit. So it all depends upon how much. And also because we live in this post-truth world, which in the last 10 years has become, even this has become a reality, that, somebody says something today and tomorrow we say, oh, we didn't even mean it. That tomorrow none of us will be heard. I think it will be just this film and the kind of memes that are around it. And this is exactly what people will remember. This is what they will remember. They'll say Jali Teri Baap Ki and stuff like that. And will it become the standard with which, the next...
I am waiting for Jali Teri Baap Ki to be remixed to a hit song. It is only, I think you'll have one pretty soon. It may start as satire and you'll next hear it play at wedding songs. I think we should not underestimate the capacity for this to actually happen. There is this bizarreness that sometimes becomes mainstreamed, even as we're all lamenting it, Shubhra. But I do also think Hindol made an interesting point that rare has it been for the screenwriter of a movie to become the public face of the entire debate around the film. That's quite intriguing. Also, I want to clarify on the numbers. I think all of you will correct me, but these are openings, and this was great word of mouth. We have to see where the numbers actually settle down after a few days. Pathan continue to build. We are talking only about openings right now, and we've got to see whether the audience penalizes this movie or welcomes it despite the terrible writing, among other things that are terrible purportedly about this movie. Thank you very much, Shubhra, Rahul, Sucharita, and Hindol. I usually end programs by saying, hey, go and see the movie. Make up your own mind, but I don't want to say that. I can't say that. So I'm going to say watch the memes instead. They're highly entertaining. Thank you very much, everybody. Take care and have a great evening. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
We started Mojo right here in this basement. Just 4 people, 4. And now we're about to hit our first 1 million subscribers. So this is to say thank you to all of you for your support, for your respect, and for your encouragement. We've always gone to where the story is. During the pandemic, when television's big anchors were hunkered down in their studios or at their homes, we hit the road. We traveled from Delhi to Kerala, covering 30,000 kilometers in a small car, reporting from inside ICUs and inside slum tenements. Whether it's flash floods or war zones, we've always put our boots on the ground. In fact, we're just back from Punjab, tailing the Khalistani fugitive Amritpal Singh. And through all of this, we have always put you, the people, first. In an age of partisan polarized media where most journalists are either chamcha ya morcha, we believe the story is sacred and the truth of the story is what matters. And now as we get ready for the next step, we need your help. Become a Mojo member and get first access to all our big interviews. Get a chance to ask our newsmakers questions. Get a chance to write and report for us for both our website and our channels. And also, interact with me and my colleagues directly through AMA sessions. Literally, ask me anything. Click on the join now right next to the subscribe button, and yes, also subscribe if you haven't yet, and become a Mojo member for just 159 rupees a month. Hope to see lots of you in our community.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.